I would be stupid to sit here next to a Blazers insider and not ask Blazer questions, at least for a little bit. Because here's the cool part. Most people think that us at the Fan, like, we see each other all the time.
We never see each other ever.
And I'm one of those guys, and I work on Sundays, so I like.
You see nobody.
There's nobody in the building when I come in here.
Well, it's like
kind
that
of
for
creepy.
me when I get off air because everybody dips out at 3:00.
Oh yeah,
especially
really
on a Friday, man. This place is a ghost town.
Oh,
when I
for
get
sure,
off air.
for sure. It's one of those things. So it's crazy to pull up on a Tuesday and see all the cars out there. So I would be crazy not to ask Danny some questions about the Blazers. And really, I wanted to start with probably the most polarizing player for the Trailblazers right now, and probably my favorite player on the team at this point, and it's Anfernee Simons.
Okay.
I know Simons is a guy that kind of, again, I say polarizing because people stand on really two different sides of the fence with Simons. It's either we love what he does, I'm glad we have him for what he does, or
you want him traded.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Get him the heck out of here because he does not help this team. All he does is shoot. I'm of the belief that I'm a Blazer fan.
Mm-hmm.
I've been burned before by players that went elsewhere and became not stars, but became key cogs.
It's the Jermaine O'Neal of it all.
There it is. And that's always who I go back to is Jermaine O'Neal. I don't want to see Anfernee Simons go to an Orlando Magic or go to a team that's just a piece away from being close to OKC and being ready to compete for an actual championship. But I also understand the stance that people take as far as wanting more from your superstar that wants an extra $100 million or so moving forward. It may be more. You'd have to let me know. But Danny, I guess my question is, he's up for this big contract. At this point, do you feel like he is worth the additional money for what he's giving you and the production that the Blazers have shown to this point?
So there's a couple different things there. Number one is there's going to be sticker shock for not just Blazers fans, but just people around the NBA for what a starter gets paid going forward because the salary cap is going up. And I've talked to probably a dozen players so far in the last couple months about kind of what their hopes are for their contracts, either, with their team or going to another team. And pretty much every single player that can average 20 points a game and do it in a relatively efficient fashion is looking for a deal that's reminiscent of Emmanuel Quickley's, which is $32.5 million a year.
Which is insane.
Like it sounds like so much money, and it is. But in the grand scheme of things, it's roughly 20% of the cap, which is about what you pay a starter now. Like if you go up and down the NBA, a guy that can, like, if you just grab any, 20-point-a-game scorer that shoots relatively well, like just slightly above average efficiency. Ant's one of the best free throw shooters in the league, so that's going to bump his numbers up. He's a very good three-point shooter, both off the catch and off the dribble. The self-creation part, like, it's been very funny.
He's a
for
wizard.
Me.
Yeah.
Orlando Magic fans that have been in my mentions about Anfernee Simons deals, and they're like, you're not going to get much from him. Of course, he's his contract's expiring, and so you can take these scraps. And I'm like, oh God, is everybody in Florida just going to make stupid offers with me? Like, number one, I'm not making these, but like, the Blazers aren't just going to give him up. And as it stands right now, I would be more surprised if he was traded than if he got an extension. Like, I genuinely think he's more likely to get an extension than he's going to get traded. Because if you look at it from the Blazers standpoint of things, is he's clearly their best shooter. Like, that's not without, I mean, there's
in a shooting league, you need shooters.
And he's their best self-creation guy on the roster. He can score at all three levels. He's the only guy on the roster who can really create his own shot at every level. And you can vary about how you think about how he does that or this, that, or the other, but that's the honest truth. And like, it doesn't matter like my, opinion on it. Like that's the league's opinion on it. Like that's when I talk to opposing coaches or players, like the thing that scares them is Ant. Like that, you see that in defensive in coverages. That's why Ant gets picked up at 40
He's the offense.
feet. Like they're like, if we stop him, and we know it's harder for everybody else to do other stuff. So, and that's not a shot at like Denny or anything like that, who's gotten a lot better and who I love. But he doesn't. He, as a shooter, nobody else puts fear in self-creation the way that Ant does. And like every coach is, when they play the Blazers, that's who they're targeting. Like we don't want that guy to go off.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the scouting report, for them on most nights. I kind of feel like, just as a Blazer fan, we can kind of get a little, we're impatient, obviously, at this point. We've seen it not work for a couple of years. Even the last few years of Dame, things just have been slowly kind of falling apart and everything. And I think you always have to have a scapegoat when that's the case. In this case, I honestly think I keep calling him CJ because I feel like we treat him the way we treated CJ. Like, you're expendable. We can do without you. And that's not the real. I don't really feel the same way about Anfernee. I feel like Ant is going to be one of those guys that, again, on another team that's set up to do great things, he's going to be the player that we all figured he would be. And I just don't want we don't want to ship him away and watch that happen somewhere else. Like, it hurts. Like, watching the playoffs this year, it hurt to see all these former Blazers out there doing great things for their squads. Like, it hurts to watch a Josh Hart excel, the way he's been doing in New York. Like,
and it's not like the Blazers wanted to give him away, but he was hitting free agency, and they kind of knew what the deal was going to be.
It hurts to watch my guy Sleeves, and I love Storm and Norman. That's my guy, but I love to watch him in LA and for what he's doing for the Clippers. But also, man, it sucks to see somebody like Batum still be able to contribute to these teams and stuff like that. So it's not like we don't have good talent and we haven't had talent. We've had it here.
It just never made sense with where it was in the rest of the roster.
And I think that's where we are right now. Like, if Ant stays, somebody's got to go. Like, and I think that's the big thing about it, because you can't have Ant, we can't have Shaden, we can't have Scoot. We have three guys that play the same positions, all do it very differently in the way that they do it. But I feel like one of those guys has got to go.
This is going to be let's say the Blazers re-sign Ant and they bring him back. It's going to be a year, but it's pretty damn telling for Ant, Shaden, and Scoot. And I think you're going to have to make a decision on one of them for sure. I said this, I want to say, when they drafted Ant, basically they had 18 to 24 months to figure it out. And we're hitting that point now. And if it were me, I would make a decision going into this next season with Ant or Scoot. And some people will say, well, then give me Scoot or give me, whatever. Scoot's younger. I want to, roll with him. And I think you can make an argument that makes sense. But on the flip side of that is there's a lot of people that I know in the league that don't think Scoot is going to be an above-average starter. And if that's the case, then can you try to capitalize on another team that thinks that Scoot does have another gear and you can get something for him? And Bobby Marks did his end of season roundup for the Blazers the other day from ESPN, and one of the questions he brought up was Shaden Sharp, and then he brought up I don't think Shaden Sharp's a $30 million a year guy because he's extension eligible and they can talk about it right now, but I've talked to people in the league that in front offices that are like, I wouldn't pay him, I would make him go to restricted free agency and see what he can do, because Shaden's really only played 2 years, because year two, he missed most of the season, played 25, 26 games. Then he had the core muscle injury, and you don't necessarily have all the data available on him and kind of know what he can really be. Some people got mad when Chauncey put him on the bench and kind of got him to buy back more into the defensive side of the ball. And I thought it was a really good deal, or a good move that Chauncey did there. And that's
probably his best coaching move of the year.
I thought him doing that to both him and
Scoot was huge.
It was like, hey guys, and it wasn't.
It helped your team.
Not only that, it wasn't a shot at those guys. It was, you guys need to do this. And I people fought back. Well, why didn't they bench Ant? Ant's not good on defense. The reason Ant didn't get benched and Jeremy didn't get benched for subpar defense is because they're in the right places. Like, that's the thing, is like, if a coach like we know when the Blazers had Tony Snell, Tony Snell got minutes not because of his production, but because he didn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't really give you anything.
He didn't score at all.
But like, he didn't make mistakes, and coaches want players they can trust to execute the things that they're asking them to execute. Not being able to do it enough will bite you. But if you're in the right spots, taking the right shots, in the right spots offensively in your rotations, like, just do the things that you're asked to do, almost every coach in the league is going to take that over somebody who has quote-unquote talent or upside.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just those guys still being really young. We forget how young Scoot is. We forget how young Shaden is. And they're still really learning. And also they're learning from other guys that are still pretty young, right? And so I still think there's a lot of maturity that has to happen there. Like, a buddy of mine always talks about Scoot and how he moves. And he's so, like, his lateral movement, his ability to move, it reminds me a lot of Tyrese Maxey. Like, the way he plays and everything like that. He could be, for me, his ceiling, if that's how good you could be as Tyrese Maxey, I think you're in a good space right now. But I think it's learning how to control yourself and what you're doing out there on the floor. And I think if with time they'll both be able to do that. But for right now, you have a logjam in one spot and you're going to draft somebody, and we'll get to our number 11, our coveted number 11 pick.
Which could be another guard.
Which could very well be another guard. And then now you have a bigger problem because now you got 4 of them dudes that you got to try to figure out what to do with. So, I think the Blazers are in an interesting spot. I want to say it's addition by subtraction at this point. Like, I really think for them to grow.
This is an offseason you have to make some moves.
You have to. So Joe Cronin, you said all in, when you first came in. You're like, man, we're all in with this whole thing. I think now it's time to kind of show and prove because you have a team and a city that's desperate for some change. And so some changes afoot, and we're looking around at the rest of the league and the changes that are coming. We don't want to be last anymore. So